You're not losing money because the market turned on you. You're not losing money because your competitor got lucky, or because the algorithm buried your ad, or because your investors got cold feet. You're losing money because of decisions you made this week, decisions built on emotion instead of principle. And if you keep making them, you will watch a business you built with your own 2 hands bleed out slowly, and you won't even see it happening until the bank account tells you the truth. Stick with me for the next few minutes, because what I'm about to walk you through isn't motivational fluff. It's a set of 7 principles that ancient Stoic philosophers lived and died by, men who ran empires, buried children, faced exile, and still built lives of discipline and clarity. And founders who've quietly applied these same principles are running leaner, calmer, more profitable operations than the ones burning cash, chasing every shiny object on their timeline. Let's get into it. Principle 1. You are reacting to everything, and it's costing you. Picture this. You wake up, you open your phone before your feet even hit the floor, and there's an email from a client threatening to walk. Your heart rate spikes. Within 10 minutes, you've fired off 3 defensive replies, called your co-founder in a panic, and reshuffled your entire roadmap for the day around one email. Here's the problem. That client hasn't even made a final decision yet. You reacted to a possibility, not a fact. And that reaction cost you real money. The 2 hours you spent putting out an imaginary fire were 2 hours you didn't spend closing the deal that was actually ready to close. Marcus Aurelius, a man running the entire Roman Empire while writing to himself in the dead of night, kept coming back to one idea over and over. You don't control what happens to you. You only control how you respond to it. That's not a poster quote. That's a business principle. Every founder who's ever gone broke, chasing a crisis that didn't need chasing, understands this the hard way. Here's the tactical piece. Next time something lands in your inbox that spikes your pulse, you do not respond in the next 5 minutes. You write the reply, and you sit on it. You give yourself 1 hour, minimum, before you hit send. In that hour, 9 times out of 10, you'll realize the fire wasn't a fire. It was smoke. And smoke doesn't need a fire truck. You are not your business's emergency responder. You are its architect. Start acting like one. Principle 2. You're spending money to avoid feeling uncertain. This one's going to sting a little, so bear with me. How many tools does your business actually use? Now, how many tools did you buy because you felt anxious that you were falling behind? Or because a competitor posted about some new platform? Or because a smooth-talking sales rep made you feel like you'd be an idiot to say no? That's not strategy. That's fear, dressed up as ambition. And it's draining your runway one subscription at a time. Seneca wrote a line that should be tattooed on the inside of every founder's eyelids. It's not that we have a short life, but that we waste a lot of it. Swap life for capital, and you've got the exact same problem sitting in your bank statement right now. You are not running out of money because the market is brutal. You are running out of money because you keep spending to soothe a feeling instead of solving a problem. Real Stoic discipline means sitting with the discomfort of uncertainty instead of buying your way out of it. Before your next purchase software ad spend, a growth hack some guy is selling in a DM, ask yourself one blunt question. Am I solving a problem, or am I trying to feel less anxious? If it's the second one, close the tab. Walk away. The anxiety will pass on its own. The invoice won't. This is why disciplined founders, the ones actually printing profit, instead of just growing, treat every dollar like it's the last one they'll ever get to deploy. not out of scarcity, out of respect for the game they're playing. Principle 3. You're letting other people's opinions set your prices. Let's talk about pricing. Because this is where I see founders torch their own margins constantly. You set a price. Somebody in a Facebook group says it's too high. A potential client pushes back once. And suddenly, you're second-guessing months of positioning work because of one comment from someone who was never going to buy anyway. Epictetus, a man who was born into slavery and still became one of the most influential thinkers in Western history, taught something brutally simple. It's not what happens to you. It's how you judge it that determines your suffering. Somebody thinking your price is too high is a fact about their perception. It is not a fact about your value. The moment you let a stranger's opinion dictate your pricing strategy, you've handed them the keys to your business without them even asking for them. Here's what this actually costs you. Every time you discount out of fear instead of strategy, you're not just losing that one sales margin, you're training your own brain to associate confidence with guilt. You start bracing for pushback before it even happens. You lower prices preemptively, and within a year, you've built a business that survives on volume instead of value, working twice as hard for half the return. The fix isn't arrogance, it's detachment. Set your price based on the value you deliver and the numbers that need to work for your business to survive, not based on the temperature of a stranger's reaction. Let people be uncomfortable with your price. Their discomfort is not your emergency. Here's the truth most founders won't say out loud. Money doesn't leave your business because of bad luck. It leaves because of unexamined reactions, repeated day after day, quietly compounding until the damage looks like a crisis, instead of what it really is, the predictable result of ignoring principles that have worked for over 2,000 years. And these 3? They're just the beginning. There are 4 more principles sitting underneath your P&L right now that are just as brutal, just as ignored, and just as fixable, and one of them is probably the exact reason your best month never turns into a repeatable pattern. Let's keep going, because the next 4 principles are the ones that separate founders who plateau from founders who actually build something that lasts. Principle 4. You're confusing motion with progress. You know the feeling. 12-hour days. Inbox 0 at midnight. Slack notifications lighting up your phone like a slot machine. You collapse into bed feeling proud of how hard you worked, and then you check your numbers at the end of the month, and nothing moved. That's because being busy and being effective are 2 completely different animals. And most founders never learn to tell them apart until they've burned out chasing the wrong one. The Stoics had a word for this trap. They called it busy idleness. Seneca specifically warned about people who filled every hour with activity and called it a full life, when really they were just running in circles to avoid sitting still with a hard decision. Sound familiar? How many of your 12-hour days were spent tweaking a logo, reorganizing a spreadsheet that didn't need reorganizing, or rewriting an email for the 5th time instead of doing the one uncomfortable thing that would have actually moved revenue? Firing the underperforming contractor, having the hard conversation with your co-founder, killing the product line that's been quietly losing money for 6 months. Motion feels safe because it keeps you from confronting the decision that actually matters. It gives you the illusion of control while the real problem sits untouched, getting more expensive by the day. Here's your move. At the end of every single day, ask yourself one question and answer it honestly. Did today's work touch the thing that actually grows this business? Or did I just stay busy, so I wouldn't have to face the hard call. If the honest answer is the second one, tomorrow you don't add another task to the list. You remove 9 and do the one that scares you. Principle 5. You're outsourcing your peace to circumstances you can't control. Here's a pattern I want you to notice in your own life. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. You check your bank balance, and if it's high, you feel like a genius. You check it again next week, it's lower, and suddenly you feel like a failure. Your mood is on a leash, and the leash is tied to a number that swings based on 100 variables. You don't control a client's payment schedule, a platform's algorithm change, a supplier's delay halfway across the world. Marcus Aurelius drew a hard line between what's up to us and what's not up to us. Your effort, your discipline, your decisions, those are up to you. The client's payment timing, the market's mood, the algorithm's whims, none of that is up to you. And yet most founders build their entire emotional state around the second category, while barely paying attention to the first. This isn't about pretending the money doesn't matter. It's about refusing to let variables outside your control dictate whether you show up sharp or show up rattled. Because here's the expensive part. When your peace is hostage to your bank balance, you make worse decisions during the low weeks, panicked pivots, desperate discounts, rushed hires precisely when you need the clearest head of your entire year. Build your identity on your discipline, not your deposits. The founder who stays level on the bad weeks is the one who's still standing to catch the good ones. Principle 6. You're avoiding the conversation that would fix everything. Every founder has one. That employee who isn't cutting it. That business partner whose vision quietly drifted from yours 18 months ago. That vendor who's been overcharging you and you both just never talk about it. You know the conversation. You've thought about it in the shower, in the car, right before you fall asleep. And you keep putting it off because it's uncomfortable, because you don't want the confrontation, because some part of you is hoping the problem just resolves itself. It won't. It never does. It just gets more expensive the longer you wait. Epictetus taught that discomfort itself isn't the enemy, our avoidance of it is what does the real damage. The Stoics trained themselves specifically to run toward hard conversations, not because they enjoyed conflict, but because they understood that avoided problems don't disappear, they compound. That underperforming hire you haven't addressed isn't costing you their salary. It's costing you the momentum of your entire team, who can see the problem just as clearly as you can, and are quietly losing respect for your leadership every day you let it slide. Pick the conversation you've been avoiding the longest. Not next month. This week. Sit down, say the honest thing, plainly and without cruelty, and let the chips fall. You'll find out almost immediately that the anticipation was worse than the actual conversation ever was. It always is. Principle 7. You think strength means never needing help. This is the one that gets founders more than any other, because it hides behind something that looks like a virtue. You built this thing yourself. You've got a reputation for being the one who handles it, who doesn't complain, who figures it out. And somewhere along the way, that turned into a refusal to ask for help even when you're drowning. Because asking feels like admitting the whole thing is cracking. Here's what the Stoics actually believed, and it's the opposite of what most people assume. Seneca leaned on friends. Marcus Aurelius sought counsel constantly. These weren't lone wolves white-knuckling it through hardship for the sake of looking tough. Stoicism was never about isolation. It was about clear judgment. And clear judgment includes knowing when you don't have the answer, and bringing in someone who does. The founders quietly going under right now aren't the ones lacking talent. They're the ones who let pride convince them that hiring a fractional CFO, or asking a mentor a dumb question, or admitting to their team that they're stretched thin, was somehow a sign of weakness. It's the opposite. Knowing your limits and acting on that knowledge is one of the most disciplined things a founder can do. So here's the challenge. Name the one area of your business you've been white-knuckling through alone out of pride. And this week, reach out to one person who actually knows more than you do about it. That single move might save you more money than every other principle on this list combined. That's all 7. Reacting instead of pausing. Spending to soothe anxiety instead of solving problems. Letting strangers set your prices. Confusing motion with progress. Outsourcing your peace to your bank balance. Avoiding the conversation that would fix everything, and mistaking isolation for strength. None of these principles are complicated. None of them require a philosophy degree or a decade of meditation. They require one thing: the discipline to catch yourself in the moment. And choose the harder, quieter path instead of the reactive one. If even one of these hit close to home today, that's not an accident. That's a signal worth paying attention to. Sit with it, write it down, and start with just one this week. If this kind of thinking is something you want more of in your feed, stick around. This channel is built entirely around applying old-school Stoic discipline to the actual, messy, high-pressure world of running a business. Drop a comment with which principle hit hardest. Hit that subscribe button so the next one lands in front of you, and I'll see you in the next video.